Two. Okay, do something, got me ghost bumping in the lot. You gon' prove something or this dude.
Hello. Episode 3, and the audio is not screwed up from my side, I think. I finally figured it out. The first episode and the second episode all had bad audio quality from yours truly. So I think we finally figured it out and fixed it.
Viewer base, I apologize because you weren't able to see him spitting bars, absolutely scatting with these.
Oh my god, there's like literally ants on my computer. I can't make, or not spiders. Is that a spider? That's seriously a spider. Oh my god.
You've got a whole ecosystem right there.
This has to happen now of all times. Bro, it's on the V. It's on the V key.
Oh no.
It's on the C in the between in the oh no.
Oh. Is he out? Did you
it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. This is fine. I'm not trying to kill a spider. I just don't want to hear. Okay, that was the weirdest, most random introduction I think we've ever had on this show.
That's a vibe. Yeah, indeed.
It's a true vibe. It's true vibe.
Spinning off on that, viewership, viewer base, people out there, viewers. I'm gonna start repeating myself. Today we're gonna be talking about some important things, some spicy new releases, jazz hands, as well as some interesting genre connections, genre like popping up, new artists out there, new musical movements, I guess, you know, par for the course for yours truly, for the duo, you know. I say yours truly, it's the royal yours truly. Okay, you talk now.
Okay, so how was your day, Robert?
It's been
start that
pretty
off.
good. It's been kind of crazy. I successfully, well, I say but I actually mean my dad and I, we successfully cleaned our carpet, most of the carpet in our house. That was pretty epic, figuring that out. The carpet smells fresh. I do not urge you to slam your face into my carpet, but if you were to do it, it would smell good. I had a popsicle as well. That was very, very important. How was your day, Kid Rohan?
Okay, so this is the first day in a while where I set time aside to do things I don't want to do, and I set time aside to make music. This is one of the first days where I just didn't do anything I didn't want to do. I thought I was going to, but just time passes fast.
Mm-hmm.
So today, I spent pretty much the entire day making. Okay, first of all, I woke up, right? And I'm checking. I got an app for my Spotify for artists because I released a song maxed up, available on streaming services, right?
Very
So
important.
I check. I check my Spotify for artists.
Yes.
The day before, my monthly listeners are 79. Okay. So I'm like, cool. Okay. What if we crack 80? That'd be hella cool. I checked the monthly listeners. It's 389, and I'm like, what?
What's
I was
that?
so confused. And then I realized my song maxed up, made it on Release Radar. So because I applied for it, so they made it on Release Radar. So now I got a bunch of people from Canada listening to my music. So shout out everyone from Canada. So these Canadian people are streaming maxed up. I'm like, okay.
That's so
okay,
cool.
man. Okay, let's go. So I'm hyped for it. And that's where I started. So I was like, I was not expecting 389 monthly listeners. And it's going to only go up from here, which is crazy.
That's fantastic.
That's crazy. And when the EP drops, who knows? But after that, so I was like, throughout the whole day, I get a lot of musical ideas. Some of them I forget to write down. Some of them I write down halfway, and barely any of them I execute immediately on. And today I just felt like, you know what? Let me just try to immediately get in the booth. I'll have lunch first. It was like 3 o'clock.
Nourish your
have
body.
lunch yet. So I was like,
that's important.
So I had my lunch, and then I went in the booth and I recorded this idea of a song I had, produced the beat, and right after producing the beat, recorded it, then added some tuning. Let me tell you, this is one of my favorite songs that I've ever made. There's just some songs you just make and they hit different, like that hits you. And yeah, it's interesting.
Fantastic.
So I don't know if I should mention this, but I'm going to mention it anyway.
Go on.
your boy used his first curse words on a song in this song.
You're saying some
Oh
no
my
no.
god.
Oh
Are
my
you
goodness.
serious?
Are we gonna have to
But
put a higher, like a rating on this once we like put it on YouTube, rated 18 plus for
yeah,
an
yeah.
mention of
But yeah, hopefully the wrong person doesn't watch this.
no more.
Sorry, mom and dad. I'm sorry. Please don't do anything.
No,
But yeah,
with what you brought up before about how the song kind of came to you, I thought that's really unique from what I hear.
yeah.
Because obviously, when you follow musicians, it's that sort of thing is really rare. But when musicians have it, like I think, do you know Ashnikko? She's a rapper, singer, songwriter, that stuff. She actually described that sort of, and a lot of artists get this too, where they have like this, they kind of like regurgitate out the song. It's like what's the thing you call it when you're having like a ghost taken out of you or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
That thing, whatever it is, I forget the name.
Possessed?
Excommunication? No,
No, that's something way different.
that's something different. An exorcism, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When you have like an exorcism, but like the ghost is a song, you know what I'm saying? Like where it just
Yeah.
like it just comes.
I actually kind of, yeah, I get what you're saying. I kind of want to elaborate on the whole curse word thing because I feel like that's something that I haven't touched for a while, for years when writing my music, and I feel like there's been a whole stigma around it. But I feel like sometimes in order to get the best vibe you can, you just have to be as authentic in that lane as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more using them as sound parts, and yeah, it feels. I mean, I honestly like someone like me because I know a lot of people are like looking at my music like, bro, you don't swear, you don't do this. Like, I don't because like right now I'm not in a position where I really can. Um, but it's not like I'm one of those people who thinks that using those words is different. It's just another way to express yourself, and it's no different. And that's something I want to emphasize. They're just other words. To me, they're just other words. Like they're not bad. I don't care. I really don't care. I'm gonna use the words when I'm gonna use the words I can to express the vibe that I'm trying to create in the best way possible and create the most authentic form of music I can. And in this case, this song is pretty hard hitting. So
did you hear it? Did you hear the little like of audio?
I don't even know. I just thought my chest. But this song was pretty hard hitting. So I was like, you know what? I gotta do it. I gotta use what comes to my mind immediately and not I gotta take away that filter for a second.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, sorry about that tangent, but I got you.
No, you're fine. You're good. This is messy. This is organic. So just that's the vibe. Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean. A lot of the time, I feel like when artists kind of try to be one thing or another, or like change the words that they have to use, like I think, do you know really really big tune that came out a long time ago by Paramore? What was the one that like shoot remember the like what was it called? A very like punk rock one, really really went off. Paramore. Not Still Into You. It was the one that like a lot of people love. I'll find it. You keep talking.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what my whole day was, basically creating that song. And for the past few days, today I created the song from scratch. Yesterday I released Maxed Up, so my energy was mainly marketing that. The day before that, wait, no, I'm getting confused. Yesterday I made a song. Yesterday I also made a song called Clark Kent. And that one, I don't know how I feel about it right now, but I'm just trying to modify the beat because I produced the beats for the new song I made today and the past few songs. So I made a song yesterday. I've been just trying to lock in. I have songs I need to make with people that I've promised to make, and I'm procrastinating them by creating random songs on the spot because my mind's like, hey, let me do this. I'm like, okay,
That's
you know what? Okay, whatever. But I made a song yesterday, then the day before I was marketing Maxed Up, and then the day before that I made a song too. And all these, like I was just learning how to create stuff really quickly, and it's crazy because I never expected these songs didn't exist in a plan before.
You're saying
but now
you've been productive but not in the way you intended, but
exactly.
in a way that's
I
very
need to actually lock down and get the songs that I need to get done too, because that's a big thing. And then also lunch tables, that thing, which is coming out next Friday.
That's
Friday.
That's pretty soon.
The next Friday will be lunch tables release date.
Put out like a celebratory thing for that or something. I don't know.
I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I'm
want to
so
put like
excited
a
for that.
pre-order link in the description or whatever?
Yeah, I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna
Just check
put
the
that.
description. They'll just be, if there's not a link for it, we'll put a smiley face or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. We'll do it. We'll do it. I'll write it down. I'll write it down so I don't forget.
Yeah, get your post-it.
So,
Yeah.
like,
So I actually found the song that I was talking about before. So on Misery Business by Paramore, the lead singer Haley something, I forgot her last name. It doesn't matter. But the band talked about how like that was written kind of as they were coming out. Like that was it was from their breakout record. And so she uses a derogatory term in there towards women. And so I'm not gonna say it here. You should probably know what it is. It starts with an S. But she's also said they've at this point they've retired it from their live shows because she's expressed, Haley Williams, I think that's her name. Yeah, Haley Williams expressed the fact that it doesn't really reflect her values anymore. So I think that's important. The fact that like it being authentic also it shows growth throughout time, you know, and so without being authentic you don't really get that sort of character progression that you do, you know. So I think it is important like sometimes to be conveying things as they are so you can, you know, you're an authentic person all throughout your growth as an artist or, you know, as a person. And so it's more clear when that sort of thing happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Okay. So as of yet, conversation's been a little bit messy, and so I wanted to talk to you, Rohan, about first off, any of the influences that we could find on your upcoming EP, very exciting, and second off, any interesting like trends or new things that you've seen in the rap scene, which, you know, I think you're very observant of the rap scene, what's growing or what's not. So I was wondering, you know, what have you seen around that?
Well, for me, I know definitely there's an obvious increase of singing and rapping. That's blended a lot. So what I believe, my general theory is that genres are intersecting and slowly merging into one over time, because you're seeing more blends of genre than ever before. You're seeing rock and rap, you're seeing rock and EDM, you're seeing rap and EDM, you're seeing country and rap, you're seeing country and EDM, like you're seeing all kinds of combinations. So slowly the genres are just becoming, because rap in the 1990s is nothing like it is now. There are still, I honestly believe rap's at its best state right now, because there's so like this, you can get everything.
You know,
you want a lyrical person, you can get him. You want a singing person, you can get him. You want, like, basically you can get anything.
You're right. And I would actually like to bring that statement out towards not just rap, but like the greater music scene as it stands. Like, I think at this point, just because of how fast communication is, like you could text somebody. You could be like, you could hit up somebody you don't know just through a DM, right? Before that, you couldn't do that. Artists didn't have, like, for example, I don't know, who's huge out there? What's a huge rapper?
Drake.
Just name one. Drake. Okay, so I could DM Drake right now, and as like, let's pretend that I've achieved a certain degree of fame. You know, it's not out of like, it's not like crazy, right?
But
I could DM him just because he's like very notable. He's a high profile artist, and if I were a profile artist too, it would be super easy to set that up.
And even the crazy part about it is Drake can find you. If you DM him, then if you meet him in public, say he'll search your IG name, bam, he has your DM. So even though he might not see it, he has the ability to see it.
Exactly.
And that's crazy. That's like, even with Do Something, I might just DM famous people that I doubt will respond. Because you never know, you never know when they're gonna respond, because they have access. You literally have direct access to your
exactly. And so obviously it can be a huge drawback in regards to the platform like DMing, but for the most part, it's super, super useful. It's a really useful feature. So, and that really interests me too. I feel like music is an industry. I feel like I talk about this a lot, but like music is an industry. It's getting faster. It's getting more interconnected. So we're seeing all of these crazy, crazy like Frankenstein genres like put together, and like I don't know, culture's just it's getting faster. It's speeding up, and it's pretty crazy. So actually, going into more of the specific bit, have you noticed any? So you were talking about singing. You were talking about singing is what you were talking about. Singing and rap. Do you have any like examples of that? Not just like notable ones, but also anything from your EP?
Juice World, definitely someone who embodied both. You have X, for example, rest in peace. Rest in peace to both. Both embody the singing and the rapping. And you have singing flows now, like Lil Baby does a lot of those. Future, I'd say, does a lot of those. Drake does a lot of those. That's actually funny you ask about my EP with that, because before, I think you can see as you've started with my music, I started off with doing a lot of rapping, and I slowly added more singing as I created more. And like even the song I created today is pretty much entirely singing. So like I'm slowly adding more variety. And with this EP, Lunch Tables, 5 tracks. 5 tracks with this EP. And the first track, spoiler alert, the first track, singing. Second track, do something, so singing and rapping. Maxed up, pretty much rapping and singing, right?
You do have those features that do include
The track after that, pretty much entirely singing. Track after that, pretty much entirely rapping. So there's pretty much an equal blend of singing and rapping.
Wow.
And I think it's just a great experience there. And even first track is produced by me. So I'm adding more and more variety as I go. And you'll hear in these projects, you're just going to hear so much more variety with the stuff and how I'm just trying to be as much of myself as possible.
Subverting. Be like Rohan getting that warm water. Very important. Very important. Also,
Inside jokes.
Little joke there.
We got to get him on the podcast maybe one day.
Going back to that about the singing, what's really interesting is a lot of people have very differing opinions on singing, and a lot of people have their own sort of like, I would argue every person has their own like journey into singing and like as well as the musical expression, because it's very like there's a lot of training. With rapping, it's you're building skill as well, but singing is also very personal as well, because you have to be hitting the notes and stuff. So did it take a while for you to find that singing voice in you?
Oh, that's a great question. Many rappers haven't found their singing voice. What I'd say with that is what I've actually told, the reason I think I've gotten a defined or a predefined voice. First of all, practice. Practice is the number one reason for any result, more than anything else. Yeah. Not a specific tip. You just get better automatically and subconsciously with practice. As you make more songs, you won't even notice how you improve, but you will. So if you're ever worried about that, just keep trying. 2, sing like you are a really good singer. Sing like you're out on that stage and they want you, and you're the best singer in the world. So with that confidence, it comes out in that singing. So it's harder. And I remember I'd have to retake so many takes for ILM and stuff like that. And even the final drafts don't have pitches perfectly correct. But I'd have to take so many drafts out. And then when creating this EP, one of my friends introduced me to this program called Melodyne, which is pretty sweet auto-tune. And I thank him so much for that, because it made the whole project sound much better, the EP. And it's making my future work sound much better, and I don't have to record as much. So I'd say how I found my singing voice, or I wouldn't have to re-record as much, but I found my singing voice through experimentation, confidence, and auto-tune, honestly. Because it's so hard to nail that perfect pitch every time with a bunch of different notes, and they all have their own thing.
Like, of course you have to practice. That's obviously a key component. But what's really interesting to me is the fact that, like, a lot of those very much parallel an artist that I've seen on the come up, Recovery Girl. So the name of the original artist, Galen Tipton, his alias is, it's alias, right? His alias.
I don't even know.
Yeah, his alias is Recovery Girl. And so he takes a lot of influence from Laura Less of 100x, and how they use a lot of like chopping and vocal sampling stuff. And he's actually said a very similar thing to you, that it took a while for him to find his voice, but eventually it chalked up to kind of starting small, you know, using those tools that would help him out. And so I think a lot of your stuff, like what isn't an ILM, right? You end up kind of like chopping your voice and pitching it upwards in a small space.
Yeah, I started doing that too.
And so something like that, where it's a very small step, and it's because a lot of people are self-conscious, so that's a very small step you can take to sort of dip your toes into that singing area, right? And so after you're cutting stuff, you can slowly kind of pull back the layers and eventually get down to the root of it, your own voice. And I think the great thing is you're at that stage, or just about at that stage. And I think so is he. He's getting pretty dang close too. He uses autotune quite a bit. Recovery Girl, you should go check him out. He's from Columbus, Ohio. Super cool stuff. Big a fan. So shout out Recovery Girl /
Hey, shout out Recovery Girl.
But yeah. I mean, that's super cool. Like the fact that it's like that those musical journeys are very similar. You know, that's what I.
It's interesting, man. It's a lot of experimentation, to say the least. Like even with the pitching things, like I started pitching things up because I like messing around with the beat. And after a few songs, I realized that it's not just the rapping, it's also the whole thing around it. So I had to make sure the instrumentation was engaging and the singing parts were engaging. So it's just a matter of focusing on the small things. And slowly practicing to get to the point where you're confident where you are. And sometimes even like when I was for one of my songs on the EP, I added autotune and I posted on my story like, I really am unconfident about this. Y'all, do you think it's good? Unanimous. Everyone thought it was good. Everyone. And I posted again like, are you? I wasn't like trying to fish for compliments. I was like, are you sure this is good?
Just checking that.
Are you sure? Because I think this is garbage. And like, no, this is great. I'm like, so then I slowly adjusted to it. And it's the same thing with your rap voice. Like everyone, whenever starts rapping, they don't like their voice until they just keep trying and they slowly get accustomed to it. Same thing with you. You sometimes have to rediscover your singing voice. It's a completely different voice than the rapping voice, and be comfortable with it.
Especially based on the fact that you've got like musical journeys. It's not just like, even though like singing and rapping, those are two different things, and obviously, you're gonna have to take different journeys to do so in either regard, because like in rapping you might want to be practicing more technical skill. Obviously you could check me on this, you know more about this than I do because I don't, but like with rapping you're probably going to want to like understand flows, kind of piece them apart and stuff like that. And so when it comes to singing, it might be more of the emotional side, or more like seeing how, getting the technical skill from how people are belting it out. And it's a little bit more than just like breaking down the technical skill, because there are two different like newly learned skills. I think a good example of this would be like when you learn instruments. Like I guess for me, I learned the piano initially, and then I learned clarinet. Obviously, there are two different like instruments, completely different, and they have different kind of upsides and downsides. So like for example with piano, right, you can do chords, you can hit multiple notes at the same time. With a clarinet you can't do that, but you can, you have more control in regards to like the depth of the sound. I would argue you can do like all sorts of like slurring stuff and make it more complicated, and it's more like lungs based and less like hand coordination required.
Which instrument do you like more?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like if I would have to choose, I don't know if I could choose, because it's been so long for either. I mean,
which one did you have more like? Did you have more like enjoyment with piano or clarinet?
I would say I had more enjoyment in general with the clarinet, just because I think with piano you get a lot of the enjoyment from being able to kind of like split your brain apart and do the two like parts with both your hands. With the clarinet, it's a bit easier, so it just comes faster, I guess, after you get your embouchure down. So I think
Yeah.
for you, you were on the clarinet for a little bit, and then you were on the trumpet,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
How was that?
I hated the clarinet. I hated it.
Oh,
I hate reeds, so it messed with
reeds
my
are
teeth.
gross.
I
Reeds
don't
are
like them.
gross, man.
I don't like when things mess with my teeth like that. So I hated it. So I picked up the trumpet, and I've been playing the trumpet ever since. I don't know if my trumpet's here. It is here. Shoot, let me see if I can.
Whipping up the trumpet.
I'm not gonna actually take it out unless you want.
Okay,
But
okay.
oh,
You do a little,
jeez.
oh God, little boogie. Put a little boogie in it real hard.
Right here.
Hey,
Perfect. I
and
want
a
to do
little
more stuff. I want to do more stuff with the trumpet in my music because I only have 2 songs with the trumpet, and I want you to guess which ones they are because
All right. Well,
you knew
oh shoot, was the audience supposed to do that?
what? No, that was for you. That was for you.
Oh, for me. Okay. All right. Just checking there. Sorry, audience. So do something. I know for that, and I think it was ILM. I think I got them both. All right.
Bam.
Yeah.
No, people sleep on the 1 second of the trumpet and do something.
That's for sure. The ad libs. I'm excited to hear more like instrumental ad libs. You know, I think that's a really interesting thing to put in, just because it's just. I feel like in any song, it just kind of it takes you away from that. It puts you in the meta a little bit, as opposed to something that sounds synthy. You've got something very organic. It's an actual instrument as opposed to an arrangement of beats or something like that.
Ad libs are organic. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, especially if you have them as like an instrument, something that actually plays. And I think something I've heard a lot from is that when you're composing a track, you don't really want to use kind of MIDI like synthesized like trumpet notes or something like that. By having it played by an actual person, you have a lot more like personality, and then of course, depth. You have a little more nuance to it, which I think the great part about that is like in ILM, the trumpet, well, both ILM and do something, it brings you out a little bit. It takes you into the meta because, as opposed to your 808s, your beats, your kicks, your snares,
Because
etc.
that's just computer stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Your bass, yeah, your synthesized stuff. Having something organic, something natural, something played by a human live, really it makes it more, I guess, I want to say like relatable. Like
That I never thought of that. That's interesting.
yeah.
That's really interesting. Like I thought about it not in depth like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you heard that like in other songs besides your own?
Well, I know that instruments, if they're naturally played by someone, are much better than that's why people love samples so much.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're much better than just MIDI. But
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. I actually got an example. So, EDM fans out there, this one's for you. I'm an EDM fan myself. Rez has a track called Melancholy. It features Laura Brem, absolute banger. I love it so much. But the second drop actually incorporates I think it's like a lute or something like that, some sort of string instrument that's not present throughout the first drop. And it really it's so cool to me because it feels like you've got the meta, right, with the instrument, and it sounds kind of like reggaeton, it sounds very and kind of like rhythm too. It's very look it up for yourself, you'll find it. But you've got the meta of the instrument, outside organic, and you've got the contrasting bass of the electronic synthy stuff, and it's just the perfect marriage. I love it so much, and so stuff like that really, it's good stuff.
So you feel like there should be a balance between the authentic and inauthentic sound? There shouldn't be too much of both.
I don't want to call it authentic / inauthentic, but I guess organic. And so what's really funny, actually, that's perfect. You've set me up perfectly. I'll give you a little high five for that. But that's what I'm talking about. So I feel like organicness and computerness, or inorganic, we'll just call it organic versus inorganic. That argument you can find so many places in music, so many places, seriously, not just from what I was talking about, but if you think about it a little bit deeper, you guys know house versus techno, right? The two sound very, very similar, but they have but like in regards to philosophy, it goes a lot deeper, because house is a lot more organic. It uses a lot more vocals that are, you know, not like garbled or synthesized or anything, but clear vocals, disco kind of feels, or like actual instruments, bass, guitar, drums, stuff like that, like live drums. But with techno, on the other hand, you've got very, very machiney, synthesized, emotionless, but like emotional sort of thing, very like hard industrial kind of sound. So you've got synthesizers like out the wazoo, as they say. Yeah, your synthesizers, your bleepy bloops, your kicks, your pounds, very just wom wom. You might want to cut that bit out, but you know, wom wom sort of thing. Yeah.
Why would I want to cut that bit out?
Yeah. Do you have the timer? It's fine. But that's just one of the, and the two have very, very close BPMs, and they sound very similar, but inorganicness, like the scale of organicness, is really the thing that divides the two. So I don't know. How would you carry that into rap, Rohan? Organicness versus inorganicness of sound.
Well, I feel like there needs to be a little bit of, not always, but it's hard to make a completely organic sound, like organic song, right? And that inorganic, not inauthenticity, but like
You can call it
the
that.
808s, the drums, the repeating, their patterns that help you identify. If everything, if everything in the whole piece is natural and organic, then it's less predictable than usual. And if everything's like the same, and like that's what makes you focus on vocals too so much. When you hear a rap song, the beat is a pattern, drums pattern, bass pattern, right? So you're forced to automatically focus on what's different, which is the vocals. The vocals are usually, if they're the pattern too, then that's cool, that's a hook, right? But if there's lyrics, right? If someone's saying lyrics on a beat, the lyrics are not usually a pattern. They're like written stuff, like written. They could be in a hook, they could be, but for like a verse, right? So you pay attention to the verse more because that's not repeating, and everything around it being repeating balances it out. So that's what you pay attention to. Now, a lot of producers do the reverse with this, where they take a repetitive hook, and they make the beat. They try to make the beat not repetitive, and have its own changing or own organic sound there. So then, in order to make a good song, you'd be able to have the same thing happening in the vocals, basically the vocal and the beat trade places. So you'd have the vocals saying the same thing over and over again, but you maybe have a guitar solo in the background, maybe, or you have like. So producers are doing the reverse to make it so sometimes the production's dominant or the vocals are dominant. It just depends on what's the same, and people usually don't value or pay attention to the thing that's the same every single time.
Like whether it's organic or not. Yeah, that's so crazy. That is super, super true. I didn't even think about that too. The fact that a lot of the time it trades places. So you'll have something, they'll like trade whether like in regards to repetitiveness. I feel like a good example, a track you actually showed me isn't like, would you call The Sailor by Rich Brian, would you call that like a very good example of where things trade places a lot? What do you think? Because I feel like
yes,
in the track,
yes,
like, you'll have
yes, Yellow by Rich Brian, Yellow by Rich Brian.
Really?
That.
Ooh, I thought like The Sailor also, you could say.
Well, The Sailor, are you talking about the track or the album?
The track specifically.
Oh, I honestly don't remember the track.
It's all right, no problem.
But Yellow, I remember Sailor or Yellow, and there's another one, Slow Down Turbo.
Slow Down Turbo, that's the one. Sorry.
Yeah, that one. You got like his vocals are coming here, and then they're just coming around your head and stuff like that. And then you have like multiple beat switches. So you could say, I'm not sure if productions wise, it's the production part was being too dominant there. It was good. It was a good track. I'm just saying maybe the mixing wise, like having the vocals go around, but you can't be doing too much, right? So have a good balance.
Yeah.
Where it's like the vocals are going around your head and stuff. Like that's a new touch because that's different.
Yeah.
So I feel like, that's a cool thing that's happening in music, and I feel like producers are rising up in rap because they're doing more stuff with that. My favorite types of songs are when people are saying the same thing, but there's like a dynamic to it that's different. I love those songs. So it's like, because I feel like that when the producer adds something, it adds another element to the song where there's more. Like I hear a lot of hard songs, and then at the very end there'll be like piano chords that give it a mellow vibe, where it turns out there's a deep meaning behind it. Like song, perfect example, "Curfew" by Token. So this song is about, it's like a banger produced by like Ronnie J, who's a big producer in the rap industry. Banger, just talking about flexing a little bit, and he's talking about how his new girl's 18 and stuff like that. And then at the end of the track for the YouTube version, like he like his new girl is like he's dating young girls, and he's like flexing and living a lavish lifestyle. Token is not like that. Token is like he is like that, but like he's a young kid too. So the end of the track, like piano chords come in, and he basically talks about how he says the same hook, but like where he said the hook, and then after that the piano chords come in, and he talks about how he's dating these people who, and being ignorant with it because he gave up his youth for rapping and pursuing this career because he started at a young age, and he wants to hang out with these people to remind him of the youth he gave up. So it's in reality trying to fill a void that he can't fill. So it adds depth to what would now be a banger. And Ronnie J used piano chords to symbolize that. So I feel like producers are.
Yeah. And spinning off about that, it's a good point about how like you'll have a lot of like subversion of expectations sometimes. I like that a lot. Like for me, I can't have a chorus repeated more than 2 times, or else I'll be like, no, I've heard it enough at this point. And so I love it.
A what repeated more than 2 times?
A chorus, like whatever chorus. I mean, it can be like catchy and fun. That's cool. But I think like in rap, I can't hear it repeated multiple times just because often it's so bare and it doesn't have any like instrumentation that's like complex over it.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying, what I really like is when the idea seems to continue, but then it totally subverts your expectations by having another line that completely switches the context of what you were thinking.
Beat switches.
And switches that go along with it as well, just really highlight it and make it stand out, make it pop a lot. And so I think I can't remember a good example of that. I mean, I think a good one in electronic music might be Queen of Your Heart featuring Augustus Ghost by Tut Tut Child. Like suddenly you'll have the beat completely cut out. It's in 5/4 time. It's super whack, but you'll have the beat like cut out and feel really lonely for a second. And then it'll just like kick snare right back into the melody. Going with the time signature, it's a crazy, amazing transition. And it's really nice because it feels like, you know, the individual is talking about I think they're talking about like a relationship or the feelings they have, but it goes back to passion. And so for a second, you'll feel like those feelings have died down, and then kick snare, they're back at it, just bang, just huge, like fireworks of synths. Just
I think beat adjusting and stuff is underrated.
For sure.
But yeah, I got you with that.
What's cool is like my example is more of an instrumental one. I was gonna do a lyrical one, but I forgot the lyrics. But mine is an instrumental one and a little bit of a lyrical one, and yours is both an instrumental one and a lyrical one as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think so.
Both ways.
Like another example would be IDK released a song where he's like the first half is like a hard beat, and he has this hook on it. And this is, I think, actually an even better example of it than the Token one. So he has this hard hook, and then it's just these hard verses, right? And then the beat switches, and it's like a more conscious, I'd say, beat. And Rico Nasty comes in, starts snapping, right? And then the same hook plays, but with a more conscious vibe. So like you have this more, you hear the hook in a different light. It can by saying less, the beat can give power to more.
Talk about key changes, because that, like what you're saying,
fire.
Key changes, an extra note. Adding that.
Key changes, by the way, like Christmas Lights. That made Christmas Lights so much better. The song I made, where like there's a part where I switch the key, just so it adds more intensity to it.
Yeah.
It's subtle, but it helps.
That's for sure. It's used stylistically to such good effects when used properly. Obviously, all the stuff we talked about, when done well and when conveying a theme, when it has a purpose, amazing. But if it's just thrown in for like a gimmick, even though it's kind of cool, it can come off as a bit lackluster or a bit empty. You know, it's
If you use
missing
it too much too
yeah,
in one song,
exactly.
that
Over
that can ruin it.
as well.
But if you use it just the right amount, you can make your song sound 10 times better. Like that just key changes for me, like they pretty much never miss unless they're used too much.
For sure.
But
For sure.
I got we might be lingering on this topic too much. I don't know, but
No,
good
I think
discussion.
we've gone off like quite a bit, and this is
Yeah,
super
yeah.
fun. Actually, like relating to kind of spontaneity in music, I wanted to go off a little bit on I I kind of want to say recent-ish revival of pop. So I feel like crazy thing about pop is now it's kind of being some of it is actually kind of being satirized in how much it's getting like jumpier and faster and more influenced by EDM. I think I talked about like art pop, spaz pop before. I think I've mentioned future core once or twice, but yeah, I feel like artists are just experimenting more and they're kind of being satirical about it. You know, they're saying pop was kind of like stale and too much. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna subvert all expectations. We're just gonna go in and throw as many elements as possible in.
Yeah. Isn't Poppy a part of pop technically?
I would call Poppy like new pop. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
sort of it is now dark. I'm a ghost. So yeah, like you were saying, Poppy, crazy. Like she's been messing around with metal, throwing metal in, throwing trap in as influences as well. That's been pretty nuts. So yeah, I would definitely call her a landmark for I guess what you would typically call pop now. Or like I always
Yeah.
mention, 100 Gex as well. They threw
Mhm.
in like a bunch of crazy things you wouldn't expect to have in a pop sounding record, but
Yeah.
they're there. But they're there. So yeah.
I don't know if I'd say 100 Gex is pop, but they're good. They're innovative with their sound.
I mean, it's hard to kind of define their sound, but it's
Yeah.
it's just extra. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I think music's taking a good turn, and I want to do my best as an artist to help that music not be boxed in and become more creative. And I think your job, you as a listener, and maybe a future artist, is you're pushing the culture forward in a different way. So I appreciate that. It's nice to hear that perspective from an artist and a listener, because they're both very important perspectives, and I think the two most important perspectives, the creator and
Exactly as you're saying. Like, I think a really good point you have is it's not just the artists that have to be open-minded, it's the listeners that have to provide that fan base of open-mindedness and support to really grow the seeds of so many diverse musical.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember any artist that got successful without a strong fan base behind them, whether it be, you know, for a few months or so, or for like a lasting amount of time.
You need to have the right fan base, definitely. So I think that's a great way to conclude things.
Yeah, for sure.
This is music is, I think, something that both of us share a lot of passion for, and it's the center of my life. So, and I'm sure it's
the same about myself, and a little bit, I guess not exactly a shout out to myself, but I have been DJing a little bit in the past. I continue to be practicing right now, and I'm sort of I'm very heavily influenced by everything. Like my goal and set is to try and put in as many references as I can without it being crazy, and while it follows, you know, standard conventions. But still making it sound good and creative and novel.
Yeah.
But not being too extra.
Yeah, it's just about finding that balance. So, yeah, support your creators. Speaking of that, shameless plug, but Lunch Table is next Friday, July 3rd. July 3rd. So make sure to stream that one. I think it's crazy just what hard work can do. My first mixtape, 8K streams maybe in like a few months. Quarantine Hours got 8.3, and it was only like half the amount of tracks. And now Do Something is looking like it's gonna, as alone as one single, is looking like it's gonna pass through 8K or more than 8K just off one song. So I'm looking for 30K. Let's see if we can get to 30K on this project. I've said it once, said it again, but it's the journey for something big, and I'm really excited to share my new EP with you. Robert, any last things about your DJing?
It's been a pleasure. I hope to be DJing sometime. We'll see. The viewer base will see me sometime. Maybe I'll upload a set. Maybe I'll do something. Who knows? Appreciate the plug. We'll see how it turns out. But as always, thank you, viewers, for watching the podcast. Those of you who are out here, I hope you enjoyed. You learned a thing or two. If you have any comments, you've got you've got his email. Are you to the right of me or to the left of me? I'll point both ways. You've got his email in whatever direction he is.
Yeah.
And should probably put mine in there just for like queries or anything. If the viewer base has any queries, questions, or things you want to see in this podcast, questions you have, go ahead and comment them. Email us, reach out. That'd be great. And as always, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I love talking about this stuff. So
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll end it on that note. Thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Do Something podcast, and I'll see y'all always.
Always. Fade to black.